It's Dennis McNeil for Causeway Coast Community. This morning in the Vineyard in Coleraine with Ricky Wright. Good morning, Ricky.
Good morning, Dennis.
Now, tell me a wee bit about the Vineyard, how and when it started.
So Vineyard Compassion, we launched our very first project back in December 2001 when we ran a Christmas dinner on Christmas Day for people who were vulnerable, lonely and financially in need.
How did you know back in 2001 that was a need?
So we just would have built relationship with different agencies in the community, and just from the grassroots on the ground, we heard that was a need and something that at that point, as the Causeway Coast Vineyard Church, we could step in and do something to make a difference.
So we're sitting at the moment in a very, very impressive looking cafe area. What's the tie-in between the cafe and Vineyard Compassion and the church?
Okay, so Vineyard Compassion is the charity that was established by the Causeway Coast Vineyard Church to tackle poverty and social need. So our first ongoing project really began in 2009 when we launched our food bank. And a lot of different projects have been developed ever since. So we now run 19 different projects that tackle poverty and social need. And the Hope Centre has just been opened 2 months ago, where all of the projects that we ran across the Vineyard site, which is a 10-acre site, were all scattered across. So we've pulled them all together under one roof to create one door for people to walk through and access hope for the whole person.
And the name, the Hope Centre, that's no accident, that title?
No, it's certainly not. A lot of the people that we would engage with, regrettably, their lives have been devastated in one way or another, and they would often come to us vulnerable and in crisis. And the one thing they lack is hope for the future and hope for their situation. And that's one thing that we can offer is hope and a solution to some of the issues that they face.
And in terms of numbers, do we have many people in this area who need help, who need your services?
Yes, unfortunately, just where we're sitting in the central ward in Coleraine, this ward is in the top 10% of most deprived areas in Northern Ireland. And then within walking distance, there's four wards in total that are in the top 15% of most deprived areas of Northern Ireland.
And how difficult, I wonder, is it for people to come here?
It certainly is difficult if someone has maybe lost the job. They've maybe both partners have been working in the same factory, both lost the job. They have savings and within a few months have burnt through savings, and suddenly they can't put food in their kids' lunchbox, and that becomes just a real devastating thing for them to carry emotionally. And then there's a sense of shame attached to that. So often we would hear people who maybe come onto the site and then just turn around and walk away because they just can't face asking for help, even though we would encourage all people to come, that they'd be welcomed. They're no different to anyone else, and we would want people to feel welcome.
And is there an expectation, Ricky, that people will identify themselves as being in need, or do you spot that, or does someone help you out there?
So we would work really closely with other charity agencies in the town, and also with statutory agencies. So even within our food bank, there's about 99 different organisations that would hold food bank vouchers, and they are the ones who identify that the need is genuine and would, for instance, issue a food bank voucher to individuals who are in food poverty. And so those agencies and organisations would refer people to come and access services here.
And when do they come here?
So we have 4 sessions in the week, Tuesday, Wednesday and Friday mornings from 11:30 until 1 p.m. And then on a Thursday evening from 7 to 8 p.m. We're open. It's called the Open Door. It's a drop-in session. It's within this cafe environment where people can come and over a cup of coffee, talk about their needs and get some of those crisis needs met, food, clothing, get linked into a number of the support services that we run.
So it's not just a question of supplying them with tins of food or a bag of food. You're looking further down the line.
Yes, we have 3 main strands of what we do. One is provision of crisis needs, so that's providing resource where people lack resource, food, clothing, debt counselling, things like that. But the second strand is empowerment, where we want to teach people how to budget and manage their money, how to cook healthily on a budget, maybe how to manage their tenancy and live confidently and independently, where we're moving people from a place of dependency and resource to a place of independence. But then the final strand is employment, where we know that work is the best and it's the fastest route out of poverty. So we want to help people on a journey towards employment, and we run a job club and a supported volunteering work program that help people get back into work.
And how successful would you say you've been in that regard?
So the majority of people that we would work with are people who are furthest from the labour market. They've maybe been long-term unemployed. So it's not always a quick and a simple process. So sometimes it is a long-term process, but we've seen quite a number of people go on to work and are fulfilling their fullest potential in life.
And let me just take you back. You said earlier about food banks and helping out with food. When we're in some of the big supermarkets and we see a basket or a large trolley and there's a notice asking us to contribute, is that connected to yourselves?
Yes, so we're really pleased that that Tesco, as the Sainsbury's co-op, would all be part of our food bank collection system. So they all have permanent collection points, and we work alongside Marks and Spencer's in the town as well, and just really appreciate the fact that I think last year there was over 14 tonnes of food that was donated in by the public. That's members of the community just going to Tesco's or Asda or Sainsbury's and putting a few extra items in their basket and putting it into those collection points at the end of their shop.
So it's important that we don't walk past those, that we take note of those.
It's vitally important. The food bank is by the community for the community, and I think last year we were able to distribute over 12,500 emergency meals for families in this community.
I can't help but say, is government aware of this? Are local councillors and elected representatives, are they aware of this situation?
Yes, many local representatives would be voucher distributors for the food bank and would encourage people that maybe would come to their constituency office asking for help. They would refer them. So we would have the support of a number of local representatives. We do try and sit on a number of different forums like the fuel poverty and food poverty forums, and just to try and advocate into the public arena to make sure that things like welfare reform, the universal credit changes that are having a major impact on the people that we work with, we're having a voice into that.
It's probably true to say that the current situation is unlikely to change in the coming years. So where will Vineyard Centre be 5 years down the line?
Well, our goal would be that over time we cease to exist, that we're working ourselves out of a job. It would be awful as a charity such as ourselves where we would think we would thrive and grow when our vision is to tackle poverty. But how we get there is, I think we need to push in a lot more into our empowerment programs to really teach people the skills of how to live confidently and independently, but also into employability programs where we give people the dignity of putting their own bread on the table and the mental health benefits of getting back into work, and especially in this area we've been hit very hard with unemployment. So even as we're taking people through a job club and through work experience, there needs to be jobs at the other end, and that's something that we run a few social enterprises mainly to give people work experience, but we don't create jobs. We need the business community, entrepreneurs to develop existing businesses and to create new businesses so that this area can be thriving and transformed.
Okay, Ricky, thanks. And finally, just before we finish, for anyone who thinks that they need help or thinks they know of someone who needs help, what should they do? How can they make this approach?
We would encourage people who are in need themselves or would know someone to encourage them to turn up here at the Hope Centre on Tuesday, Wednesday or Friday mornings, 11:30 to 1 p.m. Or a Thursday evening from 7 to 8 p.m. And they will be welcomed over a cup of coffee and a scone or something to eat in a relaxed and a comfortable environment, and we'll just give them a bit of space to share their story and what needs they have, and be able to both to help them and also to signpost them to other organisations that we work alongside. So I want to say we work alongside a number of other organisations in the community that together do an amazing job at bringing this community back to life.
Ricky Wright, thank you very much indeed. An interesting insight indeed into what's going on, whether we realise it or not, in the area. Thanks to Ricky Wright for chatting to us in Causeway Coast Community this morning. From the Hope Centre at Vineyard Compassion for Causeway Coast Community, I'm Dennis McNeil.